Good morning. I'm Walt Milne on behalf of the board, welcoming you here to our service, our Sunday service. We are the Unitarian Universalists of the Shenandoah Valley. Please silence your phones if you haven't already. And as our practice is, we like to welcome guests, visitors, members that haven't introduced themselves yet. Please stand up. Tell us who you are and where you're from. We'll start over here on this side. Well, hey, welcome. I'd like to introduce our friends from Olympic, Washington, Sandy Corey, Greg Corey. Nice, thank you. My name is Ron Ray Carper. I'm from Eugene, Oregon. Yes, ma'am. Okay, folks, yes. Welcome, welcome. Yes. Great, welcome. Okay, yes, folks.
I'm Martha, and I'm here for the summer from a small town in Texas, east of Austin. And
Fantastic. Yes, folks.
I'm Mike Lovejoy, this is my wife Jenny, and you can see me right here last summer, but we had a place in Florida which we're trying to sell, so we're in Oakport more or less permanently now. We've got a family in Asheville, which is good because we got two little healthy girls. And keep us around more often.
I'm Gary. We took a long trip from Asheville to get here.
returning also, I was DRE here many, many years ago.
I'm Roger Klinger from
there is kind of emerging from a cocoon.
Excellent. Welcome. Thank you.
From the Northwest. We moved here from Fording, Washington, as a base
Yes, sir. Excellent. And if anybody wants any more information about our congregation, we have welcoming committee members here. They have orange name tags, or any of us be glad to answer your questions. We also have a billboard outside with a lot of information on it. Just a few announcements. 2 weeks from today, June the 7th, we're having our congregational yearly meeting where we talk about, we need your votes, and we talk about the budget, and we introduce our new board members, and we also update some of the bylaws, and you all will be getting emails about all this information. So all the particulars will be in that. There's a request to leave the insert in your order of service out in a box in the hallway, please. There's a sign-up sheet outside for the baseball game that we go to, the Asheville Tours. It'll be, I believe, in August, the end of August. So tickets are gotten for us, and we all pay, and we meet down there for a minor league baseball game. It's a lot of fun, so I recommend you sign up for that. We have our choir today, which we're always inspired by and happy to have. Next Sunday, we will have some of our members who have a trio, the Encore, will be playing here, which is Roe and Deb and Spencer. So please be here for that. That's a treat as well. This afternoon after service, we have a movie to show, which will be great for those of you who want to know more about UU. It's a little history of UUism, where we've come from and how we got to where we are. It's only 45 minutes, and it'll start after coffee break. There's coffee and not refreshments, but little donuts and things to eat with your coffee after service, and then we'll show the movie after that. So try to stay around. Let's see. We also try to acknowledge every week that we are the caretakers of this land that once belonged to Cherokee and other indigenous peoples. And we have a land acknowledgement that we ask you to read that's in the order of service that explains that. And we also recognize the folks of color who struggled and labored in this area. We also mention that in our land acknowledgement. So read that when you get a chance. Also, our 8 principles are there in our order of service, which really is our covenant with each other that expresses our values and our aspirations as a congregation. And with all that being said, let's start the service with our minister, Michael Carter. That's like a drummer at the end of the song, you know.
Good job, all.
Thank you all. Well, we needed the rain. We need more rain. But yeah, we'll take what we can get. Good morning, everybody. It's good to see you this morning. I want to begin with opening words from, the late Reverend David Bumbaugh, who I had, when I was in New York, I had the pleasure of working with, and his wife, Beverly. Our congregation exists to proclaim the gospel that each human being is infinitely precious, that The meaning of our lives lies hidden in our interactions with one another. We wish to be a congregation where we encounter each other with wonder, with beauty, you, appreciation, and expectation, where we call out of each other strengths, wisdom, and compassion that, quite frankly, we probably didn't even know that we had. And so, please rise as you are willing and able. Thank you, Jim. And join in singing our opening hymn this morning, 318, We Would Be One. Number 318. We would be one, as shall we join in singing our hymn of love, to pledge ourselves anew to that high call of greater understanding of who we are and what in us is true. We will be one in living for each other, to show to all a new community. We would be one in crowning for tomorrow, a nobler world than we have known today. We would be one in searching for that meaning which binds our hearts and points us on our way. And we pledge ourselves to greater service with love and justice, strive to make us free. Please be seated. Our responsive reading this morning is, on this Memorial Day weekend, The Young Dead Soldiers, number 583. We will read it responsively. The young dead soldiers do not speak. They have a silence that speaks for them at night and when the clock counts. They say, we have done what we could, but until it is finished, it is not done. They say, our debts are not ours, they are yours. They will mean what you make them. They say, we leave you our debts. Give them their meaning. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, choir. Can you give them another round of applause? All righty. If I had my lighter, I would have flicked the lid and we would have done a little thing. You know, give peace a chance. This is the time in the service when we invite you to come up and, oh boy, did I put water? Come up, it's water, okay, thank you. Fresh water, not recycled from last Sunday, which sometimes I've been guilty of. My memory is failing. The water's here, the earth is here, and the stones, the fire is here. We need your energy. The floor is yours. Share a joy, a concern, a sorrow. I'm sorry. Our guest artist, Linda? Just, yeah. Okay. Thank you for being here. Do I need to bring the stones to you? Anybody? Okay, this stone is for those of you who, for whatever reason, decided not to come up. Just know that we keep you in our thoughts and prayers and in our hearts and minds. Our meditation this morning is called When Life Gets Messy. It is by Brother Richard Gilbert. So please center yourselves as you usually do. Make yourselves comfortable, and we will have our time of quiet as usual afterwards. Can we turn the light down for this? If not, it's okay, just for the meditation. Yes. Thank you. No, yeah, out there, that's fine. Okay. Just to get you in the mood, you know. There you go. Thanks, Dee. When life is messy, it is easy to pray when the sun shines and we are grateful for another glorious day of being. It's hard to pray when wind and rain and thunder plague our every step and spoil our every plan. It is easy to be virtuous when life goes well and our existence is a journey from bliss to beauty and back. It is hard to be virtuous when life assaults us and our very being is a pilgrimage from bad to worse to worst. It is easy to be cheerful when health bursts in us so that we can feel the very pulse of our lives. It is hard to be happy when pain and fatigue beset us and we wonder if we can really go on. It is easy to do good when our goodness is rewarded and we feel the power of pride in accomplishment. It is hard to do good when we suffer for our efforts and are troubled because we have been misunderstood. It is easy to feel religious impulses well up inside us when inspiration lives at our elbow and walks at our path. It is hard to feel religious when we are tired with work to be done and discouragement seems to mark our every move. O God of order and neatness, we give thanks for all that is good. We are grateful for manifold blessings bestowed upon us. O God of chaos and disorder, be with us also when life is messy. Bless our coming in and our going out from this day forth. And now, while our minds are one for this brief moment, I leave you with the eloquence of silence. And so it is. My favorite philosopher, William James, reminds us again that the greatest use of life is to spend it on something that will outlast it. And in that spirit, we will collect this morning's offering. Thank you.
When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe out. Breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe out. Breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe out. Breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out.
Thank you. Thank you, brother. I appreciate you. Thanks, brother. I appreciate it. Thank you for your generosity. Oh, I have a bad joke for you. And I have some bad jokes from Linda Metzner. So if you don't like them, it's Linda Metzner. So I'll start with my bad joke first. I had a dream last night that I was invisible. and that I was married to an invisible woman. And we didn't really see much in each other. And we had two children, and they weren't much to look at either. So now that's mine. That's Academy Award kind of joke. Here are Linda's. Actually, I may save some for next time. It's my wife's birthday in a couple of days, and when I asked what she wanted, she said she'd be happy with anything as long as it had lots of diamonds in it. And she's going to, of course, love this pack of playing cards I brought back for her. I was watching a show called 10 Steps to Avoid a Shark Attack, but I was puzzled that stay out of the water wasn't step one. Oh, here's one. I got fired from my new job at the ice cream factory. I just refused to work on Sundays. Boom, boom. There. There'll be more. There'll be more. For those of you who are new today, don't be afraid. That's just our way of saying welcome. I want to talk today about I think is one of the most difficult principles out of the eight, and the inherent worth and dignity of every person. And for those of you who don't come from a UU background, basically we're saying the same thing in a more secular way. This is the equivalent to being made in the image and likeness of God. And so I'd like to touch on our first principle. It's the template, I believe, of the other seven principles. I think that's the template, and it's the most challenging one. But like the 12 steps, we're looking for progress, not perfection. So here goes. The first principle for Unitarian Universalists, we affirm the inherent worth and dignity of every individual. It speaks of respecting others enough to never objectify and to control them in the service of ideology. And no matter how precious that is to us, it's kind of like, but it's not, my friends who fought in Vietnam, right? And so when they got over to Southeast Asia, they would refer, and even people I know who fought in the Gulf Wars, in order to do the business that they had to do, they had to dehumanize them. And so they were gooks in Asia. They were dinks. Otherwise, I can't. People don't come out of their mother's wombs wanting to kill. In the Middle East, they were ragheads, and so on and so forth. I have to take away the humanity. Obviously, if I want to try and get home in one piece. But it costs something to do that. Not only to the person, but it costs you. So we don't want to objectify and control people in the service of an ideology. The first principle encourages people to unfold according to their true and authentic nature. So that means you can't change that. They can grow, they cannot grow. They can change or not change, but we have to let it play out in order for them to live with integrity according to their own heart's leaning. So, what that means is that you have to give people the space. We're all at different phases of evolution on this journey called life. Some people are more evolved, some people are less evolved. At times we were the less evolved, and so on and so forth. You have to, there are 8 billion people on the planet, probably more, and we're all not at the same level of spiritual maturation. That's just the way it is. And we have to be careful that we don't think we are more evolved than we think we are. As you use, we do not ask anyone to adopt any creed or doctrine. People are retried, accepted as they are, whether they're Christians or Buddhists or Jews or humanists or atheists or don't know or don't care, if they're merely searching. That's what we strive to do. We have high ideals. We do not always reach them, but we're just the microcosm of the macrocosm. No matter if they're straight, if they self identify as straight or gay or lesbian or bisexual or transgendered, no matter if they self identify as white or person of color, no matter if they're socialist or Democrats or Republican, all have inherent worth and dignity. It's not earned. You are welcome here. The first principle is human centered. It implies that living in this incarnation on planet Earth is the proper focus of our time and attention. We don't focus on a heaven in the by and by. I'm not saying that's wrong. That's just not what we focus on. Heaven will take care of itself, one world at a time, as Thoreau is supposed to have said. Our first principle implies that we are called to create justice where justice does not now exist. If all people do have worth and dignity, can we allow them, some of them, to live with no hope? Of course not. To allow folks, can we allow folks to go hungry and without shelter? Of course we don't. To turn our eyes away from racism and hate? Of course not. So I want to take a moment to talk to you and to think about the historical beginnings of this principle, how this came into view. It comes from our roots, which are liberal Christian roots. Don't have to like it, but that's where it comes from. Unitarian Universalism was born out of the left wing of the Protestant Reformation. If you come to the 101 class, after service, we'll go into that a little bit. The Reformation was a child of the European Renaissance, the great social, cultural, and religious revolution that eventually changed the way Europeans perceive the world and themselves. I stress Europeans because there were other peoples that had already kind of had this going on. Not perfect civilizations, but this is what they had. But these are our roots. If you are a UU, if you're a person of color, this is a European Renaissance. It began in Italy in the early 14th century when scholars began to question what was considered knowledge. The spirit of inquiry spread rapidly throughout Europe. This became a time of a sort of a biblical renaissance as well, because people were saying, I'm just not going to believe that because you told me that. I'm not just going to believe that because it's written here. So our origins as liberal Christians began in Poland in 1579. A man by the name of Faustus Socinus published a tract in Krakow that promoted the concept of Jesus as a man chosen by God, but not God. Socinus denied the Trinity, thus our name Unitarian, as put forward by the early church council at Nicaea in 325 CE. You know that the Trinity and the virgin birth were both what? Voted on. At least the yellow flag should go off in your head. Not red, but at least yellow. It had to be voted on. And it didn't win by a lot, but if you lost, you had to be exiled or you had to flee for your life. His followers, called Socinians, worshipped in Poland until 1658 when they were banned by the Polish government. Now, many found refuge in the Unitarian community in Transylvania. That's how it got here. Unitarianism originated in Transylvania. I used to just think vampires or whatever were there. Dracula was there. But this religious movement came from there. Now, where the king, King Sigismund, and he was the only Unitarian king in history, allowed diversity of religious belief, and he signed the first edict of religious freedom in the Western world. Now, this is big stuff because you have to keep in mind how courageous this was. It was an unusual stand to take, considering that people were being barbecued at the stake for heresy. So it's not Mickey Mouse. In the 18th century, and there's no test involved, but I just want you to know we're not just a bunch of liberals sitting around. We have a history. We have martyrs, just like our brothers and sisters up and down this street, Presbyterian, Baptist, Methodist. Yeah, we're in the game. We're in the game. They just zigged and we zagged. We zagged. In the 18th century, this free faith, free liberal progressive faith, spread to England and then to the United States at the end of that century. A defining moment came in our country and history when the Reverend William Ellery Channing preached his Unitarian Christianity sermon in Baltimore in 1819. It's usually called the Baltimore Sermon. Reverend Channing made 4 points. The Bible was open to question. 2, the concept of the Trinity was invalid. 3, that Jesus was human and not God, or any God in him is also in us. And 4, God is good, using the words of that time, and not a God of wrath. Universalism emerged from the 17th century in Germany and England and spread to the US around the same time as Unitarianism. The liberal theology of universalism was very similar to Unitarianism. Compassion and tolerance were crucial, not at acceptance yet. We're working on it. Universalists believed that everyone would be saved, using the language of their time. So don't get your pants in a wad. You heard God 3 times, then you can hear saved a couple of times as well. This was a deep seated heresy, considering the hellfire message of the day. The two denominations merged in 1961 out of necessity because we weren't growing, because other denominations were getting a little more liberal. Now, although the roots of UUism are Judeo Christian, I cannot urge that enough, and I'll mention why later. Our insistency on the primacy of conscience has drawn people of diverse religious and spiritual beliefs to our denomination, including agnostics and atheists. Believing that all people have spiritual needs, we invite whoever would come, asking only that if you decide to come, that you give people the same respect and tolerance and acceptance, if you can, to others as you would want for yourself. That's all we ask you to do. Now, what is the theological grounding of our first principle? using the language of the day, and people still use the words, because we believe that our God is one God, no weird mathematical formulas, one and the same spirit of love uniting all people. We are all then brothers and sisters coming from a single source. You with me? Dr. Norbert Koppek, his prayer at the first flower communion service, that's where we get our flower communion service from our brother Koppek, at his church in Czechoslovakia on June 4th, 1923. His prayer was, "Let us renew our resolution sincerely to be brothers and sisters, regardless of any kind of bar which estranges." Sounds a little bit like Lincoln saying that we must not be enemies. We must be friends, not enemies. A little bit like that. In this holy resolution, he says, may we be strengthened, knowing that we are God's family, that one spirit, the spirit of love, unites us all. Unites us all. That's it. The rest is commentary. Kopeck lived his theology, and it cost him his life. He became a leader of Nazi resistance during World War II, assisting Czechs escape from Hitler's thugs, the Gestapo, and speaking in his sermons ever more directly about the abuses of the Nazis towards Jews, gays, gypsies, and the differently abled. He was arrested for listening to British radio, and he was sent to prison. He won his case at trial, but his release was opposed by the Nazis, and so he was transported to Dachau, where he died in Nazi medical experiments. Koppel came out of a religious tradition that saw that all have worth and dignity, that all were united in unconditional love. Why are they so afraid of this energy? It's remarkable. It's powerful. That's why I know that. Yes, it's mind-boggling, the fear around that. He saw that all were united in the spirit of God's unconditional love, and he was so deeply imbued with this principle, this value, that he was willing to die for it. And I guess that answered my question, because you can't control me if I don't have fear, and you can't have too many people living like that. Your society crumbles. Your empire crumbles. Your empire crumbles. It makes sense in a sick, weird, demented sort of way. And though our first principle is the foundation of our theological and relational lives in community, we must acknowledge this. Now, this is crucial, that there are questions and contradictions that plague us. One of these questions emerges in the regard to the tolerance we profess. We're always stressed, like an addiction. Every day you get up, love or fear, which one am I going to choose? Sometimes I can't help it. I'm going to be fearful today, and then I'm going to take it out on you. Every day, that's why it's hard to do. Some UUs have moved away from Christianity. No problem. It's a liberal Christianity. It's not the Christianity that our Orthodox brothers, but that's not good enough. And that's okay. But there's some people who are still so wounded from it, who have not yet resolved the painful experience of their childhood faith. They find it difficult to tolerate Christian UUs or even the Bible in a worship service. I know that doesn't apply to you. I'm just telling you what I'm thinking. Some UUs are so intolerant of politically conservative individuals and discourage their participation in our congregations. When we reject individuals because we disagree with their perspectives on religion and politics, we are violating our first principle, right? And my job as the minister is to question that, is to hold a mirror up to myself and you when we do that. We don't have to think alike to love alike. We love when we say that until we meet somebody who does. Francis David, another early martyr of UUism, wrote that. We don't have to think alike to love alike. Our tradition pledges us to be deeply respectful of others, even when we cannot accept their values or theological perspectives. Now, on the other hand, sometimes we go too far the other way. In the name of radical respect, we sometimes find ourselves being foolishly tolerant of individual behavior that should not be accepted because it's destructive to the larger community. Some congregations allow unhealthy individuals to exert extraordinary influence over the life of the church because the members want to appear always loving and open. This tolerance of harmful behavior is inconsistent with our principles, for it is in violation of the law of love and healthy respect for the larger community. We must also be aware of our class consciousness. We hide behind it sometimes. Sometimes we don't know we're doing it. But people have to look and talk and be a certain way before we put them out in front of the congregation. They don't have the skill set, we say. But that's something else. That's something else. They don't have the clothes. They don't have this. We are all human beings, and we are fallible. I have served and attended some UU congregations that have not really tried to live up to the meaning of our principles. I won't name them. There's no need. It was long, long ago in a galaxy far, far away. People change. Perhaps they have. Sometimes we think because we've said it, we have done it. We tend to think of ourselves as people set apart. We're UUs. I've had people say to me, I've read something that was 5,000 years old from a Hindu scripture. That sounds like a UU thing. This predated UUism. Let's dial it back a bit. Sometimes we come off that we're just a notch or two better than other people. We are middle class and upper middle class people, generally speaking. A middle class person of color would have a relatively easy time moving into our congregations compared to someone with perhaps more working class assumptions. And that goes no matter what the race, but you get my drift. It should be said as well that we, by and large, are a prosperous bunch. That's not a crime, but sometimes we are overwhelmed with the demands and of what it means to share our largesse. I've been in congregations like that. I don't find that here, but I have been in congregations more wealthier than us. We must monitor our actions to make sure that they fit our words. That's all that I'm saying. We believe in the inherent worth and dignity of all persons, imperfect as we are. This principle calls us to right relationship with others. It calls for profound respect, even when we differ with the views and behavior of another. You don't want to pull someone so low that you hate them. You don't want to talk about I wish so and so would be assassinated. You don't ever want to say that. If you can think it, but don't say it. Don't say it in front of me. Yeah, that's the lowest vibration you can go to. I mean, that's low. I disagree with them so much I'd like to see them killed. Come on, man. Come on. Let's raise it up a little higher. Calls for gentleness and forgiveness and the understanding that redemption is just a decision away. Atonement, at one, it's just a decision away. You make the decision that I'm not going to do that, or I am going to do this. It calls for us to leave the safety and sameness of our so-called security. And this is what we need. It calls for risking being uncomfortable. Our first principle remains a touchstone of this remarkable of relationship that supports the other principles and orients extremely rapid. When you lose your way, it snowballs. And you hear those kids out there? That's what we do it for. That's who we do it for. I don't want to hear them say, I wish I can't stand so and so. Someone needs to kill him or her. Don't want to hear that. There is so much to be learned on our life journey. There's so much, and we're still learning. Otherwise, you wouldn't be in your body now. You're still here because you need to be here. I need to be here. When it's time to go, I'll go. Let us continue and covenant to affirm and promote the inherent worth and dignity of every person. And let us celebrate this faith community that we call Unitarian Universalism. Amen. Ashe. Satu. Blessed be. All right. So, our closing hymn this morning, please rise as you are willing and able. Hymn number 100. I've got peace like a river. We're only going to do 3 verses because otherwise we'll be singing it for Easter. Okay, so um, Can we give our guest artists a nice round of applause for being here? I'm sorry, I had forgotten to even acknowledge it. Of course, Linda. Thank you, Linda. All right. There are times when life is less than we desire, and there are times when we have not been what we might have been. But we put all that behind us because the only moment we really have is now. That is it. So our egos exist because we're always looking at the past, what you did to me in the past, or what I can't let go of. But today, we're going to try to let that go and be in the moment. And so, in that moment, I wish you peace. I wish you joy. Thank you for being here. I will see you next week. No, I'm off. I will see you in June. And if you can make it to the class in a few, do that. If not, I wish you all a gentle peace. Take care.